It's funny, I can't see it on my phone. That is weird that it's not showing up on my live stream. Oh well. All right, everybody. So we started a little earlier to test if everything's working out. Welcome to our last session, Q&A with our nutritionist and beloved volunteer, Ariane Williams. Welcome, Ariane. Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us. And I see we have some people following us. So if you have questions and comments that you want to ask us, please go in the comment sections. I'm trying to follow from two angles here, so bear with me. Following us. So if you have, and that was my phone, so that's not going to work very well. So put it in your comment section, and I hope I can see it here. I should, but we had some delays the last few times. So with that, I'm just going to give it over to Ariane for just a general short introduction, and then we're going to jump right into the Q&A session. So I'll start monitoring our comment section. And with that, I'm going to open this up and hand over to Ariane.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. I'm really happy to be here with you. I strongly support Good Life Refuge, and I'm glad I can participate today. My name is Ariane Williams. I have a degree in culinary arts and culinary nutrition from Johnson & Wales University in Denver. I am currently a program coordinator for a nonprofit organization in Texas called commonthreads.org. We give nutrition and cooking education to students and families across the nation. So what Nicole has pulled up right here is the vegan My Plate. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the USDA My Plate. It looks very similar. Obviously, this is a little different for plant-based diets. We have fruits, grains, legumes, and vegetables. That should be the bulk of your plant-based diet here. So one reason we should choose a plant-based diet for nutrition reasons is that it can help prevent the top leading causes of death due to illness, like hypertension, which is high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, and in some cases it can even reverse some of these symptoms. So overall, it's a very healthy diet for our lifestyle. Nicole, did you want to ask anything while we...
Yeah, so we did collect a few questions up front. So we have the sessions, and I actually have to admit, I'm in my 5th year being vegan, and I'm still having questions, many. So I'm very selfish here and just asking some of my questions to get answered. But I think there are very basic questions that we all kind of struggle once in a while. And one, for example, is what are really good sources of plant-based protein, and how much should, we take in? Like, I know beans, legumes, but how much should we have on a daily basis? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been vegan. My husband and I have been vegan since 2014, so not too much longer than you have been. And I think it's just a constant process of learning new information and staying up to date with research that's coming out. So there are definitely a lot of sources of information out there. It's kind of tricky to navigate through all of them sometimes. So you want to make sure that you're getting your information from reputable sources. We have some websites scrolling on the bottom of the feed. One of them is pcrm.org. That's the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. That's something that I use a lot. Also, nutritionfacts.org and vegan.com are some great sources for understanding the why behind a lot of these supplement questions and serving sizes and things like that. So feel free to jump on those when you have a chance and do some research on your own. I also like to preface everything by saying if you are having any specific issues or ailments with your diet or your body, I recommend that you get in touch with your doctor to consult with them before making any big changes, especially in regards to supplements. So always consult with your doctor first. So like you were saying, Nicole, about serving sizes, that's something that may not be widely known for a plant-based diet. So for vegetables, generally we want at least 5 servings of vegetables a day, and this is all kinds of vegetables. So leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli. Basically, we want to eat a rainbow. So any colorful fruit or vegetable that you can get your hands on is awesome, because different colored fruits and veggies give you different vitamin sources.
So when we say servings, is one serving, is that like a cup or half a cup?
So vegetables would be 1 cup of whole leafy greens, or half a cup of cooked leafy greens, or half a cup of any other raw or cooked vegetable. So generally half a cup, unless it's a whole leafy green, whole uncooked leafy green, that would be 1 cup.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. See, because I'm like, okay, serving size, it's great. What's a serving size, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That maybe, I don't know, maybe because I'm not from the US, so we have different measurements, but I never dove into nutrition that deeply when I was still living in Germany. Mm-hmm. So another question that comes up very often is about soy. I know, soy in form of tofu or tempeh is, even seitan is a staple within the vegan or plant-based diet. And I'm wondering, there's so many myths that are kind of like, is soy good for you? Is it bad for you? What really is it, right? So what's your expertise on that? Or opinion?
In general, soy is a healthy source of protein for a plant-based diet. Obviously, there are people who have sensitivities or allergies and they can't consume soy. So, if you are in that category, then it's not a great option for you. But a lot of studies have been conducted that show that soy products are not harmful for you unless you're consuming a really large, excessive amount on a regular basis. It's also been shown in studies that it has no adverse effects on men. So that is a common misconception that's out there, that soy will drive your estrogen levels like sky high. So men and women in menopause shouldn't eat a lot of it. But that actually hasn't been scientifically proven. So in general, soy can be a healthy source of protein. With that being said, you want to make sure that you're leaning towards whole sources of protein. So a whole source would be something that hasn't been processed a lot. So something like tofu or tempeh or edamame, those are whole sources. Something like soy chicken style strips that you find in the freezer, those are more processed. So that's something you should maybe consider having only on a sometimes basis and not on an always basis.
That is good advice, because I know I like to try all these fancy replacements, right?
Yeah, there's a lot
So
out there. Yeah, they can be really delicious. I generally kind of use those as like maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks as a treat, maybe on like a Friday night. I'll grill like a Beyond Burger or something like that. But during the week, it's more like tofu or tempeh.
Okay, that's good to know. I need to change my diet a lot, I guess. We do a lot of Beyond here in this house. Um, so I think another question, that often comes up is, will I be able to get my protein that my body needs in with a plant-based diet, and how much protein do I have to take in? I personally suck if it comes to protein shakes. I just don't like them. We have them, but I usually never end up, and I feel like, okay, you know, I should be able to get my protein through my food and not through a special drink. But it's like, do I need to or not?
Yeah. So in general, protein deficiency is very rare in developed countries like the United States. So unless you have some sort of maybe autoimmune disease or something like that, it's rare to have a protein deficiency in a plant-based diet or in a standard American diet. So in general, for protein serving sizes, an average amount would be 30 to 50 grams of protein a day. That being said, that's about 3 to 4 servings of legumes or soy products, like half a cup of tofu or half a cup of cooked beans, or a 4th cup of pureed beans like hummus would be a serving size. So 3 to 4 servings of that a day will get you 100% of the protein that you need in that day. And also keep in mind that there are other sources of protein. It's not just beans and legumes. There are nuts and seeds. There are small amounts of protein in vegetables and also in whole grains. So if you're eating a balanced diet of grains, vegetables, legumes, and soy a day, you'll be getting everything that you need for protein.
Cool. That is awesome. So I know, and I think that is often something that is for women, is like, as we age, our calcium deficits deplete more than when we're younger. And then, it's like there's also that kind of like, the way I was taught was that you get your calcium from your milk, right? Which, from what I've known now, is not quite the case. And there are also studies out that actually show that milk depletes the body of calcium. So when you're on a plant-based diet, it's like, how do I get my calcium intake in from what I'm eating? And do I need to supplement calcium to make sure that our bones stay strong and, just get what they need?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so depending on what age range you're in, you may need more or less calcium. So older women tend to have a higher need for calcium. But there are some really great sources of whole foods that you can get calcium from. A lot of leafy greens like kale, collards, bok choy, broccoli is a good source. Figs actually have a lot of protein, so if you like dried figs, that's something delicious and high in calcium. And then some beans also are good sources, like chickpeas or black beans. And usually most tofu is set in calcium, so they add calcium to the tofu making process to help it firm up together. That's a good source. Also, there are a lot of fortified calcium products like orange juice and plant milks. They usually have calcium added to them. And you can supplement if you are consulting with your doctor and they you've taken blood tests and your calcium is low, you can take a supplement for it. Just make sure that you're researching the product and making sure that it's a vegan source, so like something from chalk, as opposed to an animal-based source.
That is a good advice. Is there a website that you feel like has a really good information about the product? Because I have to admit, I still struggle sometimes with labels, and I'm like, I'm not sure about this one or that one. So,
Yeah, vegan.com has some good information about animal-derived ingredients. So it's just a list of commonly found animal products that you might not recognize the name of. So it has some good information about what you might find in foods as food additives, or even like makeup. So vegan.com is a good resource for that kind of information.
Cool. And then I think another supplement or another mineral that is often found in meat is iron, right? So with not taking in meat products, what are we going to do with that?
So iron comes in a couple different forms. Heme iron, which is from animal products, is kind of more easily broken down by the body, but that doesn't mean that you can't get it from plant sources. So non-heme iron, which is plant source iron, you can find in whole grains, dark leafy vegetables, again, so iron and calcium in the same punch with dark leafy greens. Dried fruits and nuts and seeds are good iron sources. And a tip for eating your iron sources is to eat them with a citrus food or fruit, something like bell peppers or oranges or something like that, because the vitamin C helps your body absorb the iron better. So if you pair iron and vitamin C together, like in the same meal or in the same day, you'll help your body absorb it a little better.
Okay, cool. Isn't there something with calcium as well?
Calcium,
not with citrus, but is it calcium and vitamin D or something?
Yeah, yep, exactly. Yep, calcium and vitamin D are good paired together.
Cool. I keep some things in my mind. And I think, another one that I'm not good at, I'm trying to, but I think vitamin B is another one that is said to be coming from animal products, and it's not easily replaced, or you can't easily get it from plant-based sources. So what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so vitamin B is actually, the source is from microbes, so like bacterias. The reason it's so prevalent in animal products is not that it's naturally inherent in like animal muscle, it's that their animals, especially in factory farms, are more exposed to a lot of microbes, bacteria. Think about all of the manure that they're in. So they're just exposed to a lot of more microbes, which is why animal products have more B12 in them. So when you're thinking about plant sources of B12, it's usually in things like yeast, so like nutritional yeast. That is a good source of B12 for plant-based. Also, grains are usually fortified with B vitamins and B12. So you can get them from that source as well. And also plant-based dairy is usually fortified with B12 too. You can also buy plant-based supplements. This is the one I have, just methylcobalamin B12 supplement. When you're buying supplements, you want to look at the serving size on the back of the nutrition label. One tablet is 1,000 micrograms, which is 41,000% of your daily value, which is a ton. So your body can only absorb a certain amount. It can only absorb, what it's going to use now. So the rest of it just passes through your system. So I generally will just take, like, break one tablet up and just have one piece of it, instead of having like a whole tablet at once, because I know that some of that is going to go to waste.
Yeah, and with some vitamins, actually, you have to be careful because they can be toxic to the body as well, right?
Yeah, you don't want to take too much like calcium at one time because it can build up in your system. So always take a look at the serving sizes. This is a multivitamin that I take, Garden of Life. It's a men's multi, which is fine. It's really not that different from the women's multi. I think it's just a lot of marketing hype. So this is mostly plant, like whole foods based. So it's got fruit and veggie sources.
Yeah.
And it has, 200% of B6, and that's for a serving size, which is 4 gummies. So I might take 1 gummy like every other day because I know that I'm eating a lot of whole fruits and veggies, and I'm getting a lot of my vitamins from whole foods.
That's good. I like Garden of Life. It's actually one of my favorite brands, even for the protein shakes. When I buy some, I usually get them. I haven't tried the vitamins yet, so I'll have to have a look.
And they actually taste good too. Like, I'm really not crazy about supplements because they usually taste really bad. But these are, since they're based on fruits and veggies, they actually taste pretty good.
Yeah, that is my biggest issue. The B12 complexes, I have a hard time because they're usually huge caps, and I just have a hard time swallowing big caps, right? So, and then the B vitamins usually have that distinctive smell and taste where I'm like, right? So
yeah, if you're taking it by itself, yeah. A tip for maybe taking vitamins that aren't that tasty is that you can, if they're just tablets, you can like throw them in with your smoothie and blend it up in that. If it's like one of the plastic tabs, you can open it up and like pour it in your oatmeal or something, or your smoothie. So it's mixed in with other stuff and you're not tasting.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. That's what I do with my kids.
Sometimes it's helpful for adults too.
Sounds like it. So I think we have a few more on the list, and you guys, if you have questions, then please go ahead and ask them in the comment section. So another one is, I think, vitamin D.
Yeah.
Because from studies that I've read, many people here in the US actually are vitamin D depleted, right? Not depending on any of the diets. So what's your recommendation there?
So vitamin D, you can supplement it, but there are also whole food sources of it too. Generally, if you want to get it from sunlight, which is maybe the best source, 15 to 30 minutes of, direct sunlight will help you soak up all the vitamin D for the day. Obviously, you want to be careful with that. You don't want to get sunburned, so make sure you're using sunscreen. When you go out and try to soak up your sunshine vitamin D. But you can also get it in the form of mushrooms. So mushrooms are actually a good source of vitamin D. I know that's kind of a picky eater food. Like some people either love or hate mushrooms, but they actually do have some good vitamin D in them. And also, if you are supplementing it, you can get a vegan form of it. A lot of vitamin D comes from lanolin, which is a sheep's wool product. So when you're looking for vitamin D, you want to make sure that it's labeled vegan friendly. Those sources come from things like lichen, which is a type of moss. So there are vegan sources of it. You just have to watch out and read labels.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that, for example, that this is made from lanolin. That's pretty cool. So another thing I think that, we all kind of like to supplement often are our omegas because they're good for inflammation. And I think a lot of people just take them and because they're good for the brain health and all that fun stuff. So, and often it's krill oil or it's fish oil. So how do we supplement the omegas on a vegan diet? And what do you have brand recommendation that are actually palatable?
I actually don't personally take an omega supplement, so I
Okay.
can't give you any personal recommendations. If you go through like nutritionfacts.org or PCRM, they do have some brand recommendations that you can choose from that are vegan friendly. As far as plant sources, like whole food sources, flaxseed is a good source of omega-3. 1 tablespoon is considered a serving size of ground flaxseed. So flax meal. Flax seeds, the hulls are a little harder for us to digest. So when they're ground in flax meal, it's easier for our body to absorb it. So flax meal. Chia seeds are also a good source. So 1 ounce of chia seeds is considered a serving size, which is kind of a lot. So you'd have to like portion throughout the day. Maybe throw it in your smoothies or sprinkle on top of your oatmeal or make chia seed pudding with it.
I was just about to say that.
Sarah did a chia seed pudding recipe, did she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She mentioned it, but we didn't do it. And I have a recipe for a pumpkin chia seed pudding, which actually my kids love. And everything that I cook in my house has to be child approved because, you know, I cook a lot of vegan meals that they don't eat. So I'm like, when I have stuff that they eat that is vegan, I'm like, win-win.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Walnuts is another good source of omega-3s of 1 ounce again. So you can also get a supplement version, so a pill or a tablet. Usually it's algae based. That's why fish is considered a good source of omega-3s because fish eat a lot of algae. So it's not really that the fish has it, it's that their diet has it. So we can get skipping the fish and go straight to the algae.
Yeah, it's kind of similar with meat, right? There's a similar argument about that. That's great. What about flaxseed oil? Because I know there's flaxseed oil. I need to get back to that because I think that is something I can take.
Yeah, that's absolutely an option. Absolutely.
Okay. So we do have a question from Alex. Alex wants to know, how does someone start a plant-based diet? Is it best to start slowly or just jump in?
I think that's entirely dependent on your attitude. If you think that you can, start completely from scratch, go for it. The way I did it, I already had like a stock of groceries, right? And I didn't just want to throw away stuff because I bought it. So it was kind of like once something was finished, now I'm going to buy a plant-based version of this. So it really depends on how you want to do it. If you're getting towards the end of your groceries and you're like, well, I just want to start completely from scratch, maybe you can donate stuff to the local food bank if you wanted to. Some really good sources for starting off are the 21-day vegan kickstart from PCRM.org. So they have meal planning options, lots of introductory information for you to go through. And it's a really great resource. Things that you don't have to memorize, you can just have it at your fingertips to look up at any time when you have a question.
And I can second that, Alex, because I did the jump in. So for me, it was like I was running a farm animal sanctuary, but I wasn't vegan. And at some point, I had to realize that that's kind of not okay, and that I was being a hypocrite. So it took for me one video that I watched from the baby chicks, and then I decided I'm going to go vegan. And I did it overnight. I did it cold turkey, just like, stopping smoking, which is not necessarily what many vegans recommend. So from talking to other vegans and people that are on plant-based diet, most recommend that you go slow and just replace one meal at a time, ease into that, get familiar with the stuff, and then just slowly kind of making your way up to more meals, because, there's a lot, you will read a lot of labels when you start, and you will recognize, oh God, how many things aren't vegan that you would not necessarily think they aren't, right? It's like sugar. There's technically nothing on sugar that screams it's not plant-based. However, what I learned, the only sugar that is plant-based is actually organic sugar, because most sugars, the way they're processed and the way they're bleached, they have some um, animal products in it. And there's wine and juices, it's like, and it can get overwhelming. So, many recommend ease in slowly, and don't get too overwhelmed. Don't put too much pressure on you. I've slipped many times, or I bought some stuff and ate it and figured out, it still happens to me today, to be honest, right? I think I have a vegan product and I'm like, oops, there was eggs in it. I'm like, wait, damn it. Sorry. Shouldn't curse on life. So, just be gentle with yourself and don't put too much pressure on, because for me, a plant-based diet is a lifestyle, and it doesn't necessarily stop with what you put on your plate. It goes further than that, like cosmetics, what you wear. So ease in it, be gentle, and do, the PCR. I always get there.
PCRM. Mm-hmm.
PCRM, they're a great source. We have on our website, we have tons of information on a vegan diet. So if you go to the goodliferefuge.org and look at the compassion toolbox, there's a whole section just on plant-based nutrition. And we have book recommendations there. We have resources for how to get started and other resources there. So that's a great way for you just to look at, and make your way and see how you want to do this. So I know we're kind of a little over. We have a few more questions to take if you guys want to. And I have two more questions for Adiani that we kind of collected up front. So where I'm still struggling, and I think it often goes for other people too, is what's the best way to eat vegan when I go out without being stuck to either just rice or beans or a salad.
Yeah, that's something I am not a great fan of. Like, I don't want to go out to a restaurant and have salad because I can make salad at home anytime. So research basically is the main answer. Research ahead of time. PETA has a really great information source for restaurants that offer vegan options, and they tell you exactly what you can order from those restaurants. So I would definitely use that as a resource. It's just like a great list. You can see chains and things like that on there. You can also call restaurants ahead of time. So if you're going out to eat with your family and they've already chosen a restaurant, you can call them and say, hey, do you have any accommodations for plant-based diets? It also depends on maybe how strict you feel about following a plant-based diet. Some people are more strict than others. Do you care if they use the same fryer for vegan and non-vegan products? Are they using separate prep stations? Things like that. If you're concerned about that, you can absolutely call ahead and ask those questions to the kitchen manager. Something you can also use are apps. There are a lot of helpful apps out there. So Happy Cow is a good crowd-sourced information hub where people give reviews for restaurants that have vegan options. So definitely use apps and research ahead of time.
That's good advice. Thank goodness I feel like there are more and more restaurants that are accommodating plant-based and integrating more and more of that. So I feel like even where we live in Longmont, which is, kind of a little bit rural, but not super, there are more than a couple of restaurants that are accommodating plant-based. So, and it's really up to you, as Adiani said, how far you want to go or not. Because I feel like for me, when I go out to eat, I don't want pressure. So, I look at the menu, or I ask, do you have plant-based options? And I don't usually go into all the bits and pieces and get like too wind up about it, because that would take away my enjoyment of being out and having a dinner out. But everybody is different, and I think you have to find what's comfortable for you when you go out. And then there's my last questions that we actually we have two more. Sorry about that, and we're gonna head up a little. So what would you say is the best to shop for plant-based products? And I've noticed that, for example, King Soopers has ramping up their plant-based options, and there are some vegan. Actually, I saw two. I forgot the name of the other. There's like Vegan Cuts, which is like an online service, and there's now a new online service. I think I saved it somewhere. I have to find it. That is comparable to Amazon, that I just saw popping up, which I haven't tried it, so I have no idea. But I was super excited about seeing the option of a vegan service like Amazon, right? So what do you? What's the best way to shop?
So you're going to do a lot of reading, a lot of nutrition label reading, a lot of ingredient reading. Like I mentioned earlier, the vegan.com resource for reading animal-derived ingredients is going to be really helpful. Again, there are a lot of apps out there that can help you determine whether a product is vegan or not. Usually they're like scanner apps. So something like, is it vegan or vegan scanner? When you're at the grocery store, you can scan the QR code and it will tell you if the product is vegan or not, based on the ingredient list, XYZ. So those are some helpful things you can use. Again, going back to what Nicole said about starting off on a plant-based diet, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to buy something that isn't 100% vegan and you're not going to realize it and you're going to eat it. And that's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. 6 years in, and I occasionally will make a mistake too. So it happens. Being on a plant-based diet or being vegan isn't about being perfect. It's about making the best choices you can to live compassionately. So it's okay if you make some mistakes occasionally. And you're going to do a lot of why does this have milk in it? Because a lot of products have milk in it that you wouldn't think have milk in it. So reading labels is important. Understanding what words or ingredients are actually plant-based or animal-based is important. And you can do some research ahead of time and look at that.
Cool. And so the last question that we have, I can't even speak today. I have to apologize. I was out and about. What would you say are some good alternatives for meat and dairy products, eggs and fish? I feel like I struggle a lot because I'm replacing pretty much, it's like I cook a lot of my comfort food with like Beyond Meat, right? I get the Beyond burgers, I get the Beyond brats, I have the Beyond beef, and I love it because I can kind of get the dish like 90% close to what it would be with meat. But I also realize that that's not the healthiest replacement to do it, right? Well, I'm like,
Yeah, I think it depends on maybe some of the reasons why you're on a plant-based diet or why you're choosing veganism as a lifestyle. Some people are just 100% for the animals and kind of it's not as important to them what type of foods they're eating in regards to like nutrition. So maybe, maybe you're a junk food vegan and you eat a lot of, burgers and, vegan cheese slices and, all of that delicious, tasty stuff. And that's okay, as long as you're maybe balancing that out with, fruits and veggies, whole grains, that can work. some good alternatives, I think seasoning is key. So when you're making your food, maybe you're making burgers and you're using beans and oats to make patties instead of, buying a frozen product or something.
Okay.
If you're seasoning it well, then it's going to taste good. Nobody eats unseasoned meat because it doesn't taste good just like that. So if you're using awesome seasoning mixes, you can make your own blends at home, or you can buy like pre-mixed blends. I think that's going to be really important for making your substitutes taste good without sacrificing nutrition.
That's good. What about dairy products? Because, for me, it's always like yogurt. You eat yogurt because of the probiotics, right? And I'm like, I've never been a yogurt person. I like it once in a while, and I like the unflavored ones just with cut up fruits, because the rest is too artificial and doesn't taste well to me. But I'm like, I always like, does the vegan yogurt or the plant-based yogurt has the same probiotics values? Should I even bother, right?
Yeah, so yogurt, usually plant-based yogurt does have probiotics still added to them, like cultured in them. So still good sources of pre and probiotics. I generally would recommend unsweetened yogurt and also unsweetened plant milk. That's personally what I use. And there are so many dairy-free options now. I mean, coconut, hemp, almond, cashew, oat, hazelnut, the list goes on and on. So we have like some really great options. Keep in mind that they're not all created equal. So some may have higher protein, some may have higher vitamin supplements added to them. So, compare and contrast, read labels, and find the one that tastes good to you and that you like, because there are so many options out there. You can afford to be a little picky and choose the one that you like.
That is true. And I'm super picky. I only found one yogurt that I personally like, right? Which is just the classic coconut unsweetened, that's from the same company that, I don't know, that does the soy yogurt. I don't like Forager at all. It just is not my taste. So, but, there are tons of options out there for everybody's taste. I feel like it. And we will be trying to add more on and show and place products that we like and recipes that we like. So stay tuned with that. I think if nobody else has the questions from the audience, we would close our Q&A session. I say a very big thank you, Ariane, for your time today. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. We went about 15 minutes over, which we're never kind of on time, and I don't want to put a time cap on everything when we're doing these Facebook Live sessions. If you liked us, please go ahead and like us on Facebook. We always can use a good review and follow us. If you want to look into our compassion toolbox, please go to goodliferefuge.org and check that out. We have a section about plant-based. We have a section about factory farming and the health benefits of a plant-based diet and what it does to the environment. So go ahead and visit our website. And with that, I wish you all a super nice weekend. Relax, enjoy, stay safe. And I hope to see you for our next one. While we concluded this session, we're working on adding some other informational sessions on, so stay tuned for that. We also have our first anniversary coming up, our second anniversary coming up, September 26th, which will have a virtual tour that is free, as well as we will do a session where we paint with piggies. Well, actually the piggies paint. It's at 1 o'clock on Saturday, 26th. So join us for that. We'll have some fun, and you guys have a wonderful weekend and take good care.
Thanks for
Bye,
having me.
everyone.
Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
for being here.